what's off limits? What is necessary to ask? And yet trans is such a new thing. It's not. It's funny because it's not new, but it's new for mainstream.
Yeah.
So I want to ask about sex, but a part of me is like, that's off limits. Why should I ask you guys how you have sex?
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys feel about that?
So where does it go? I was asked that once.
So where does it go?
Yeah, because I was like in the changing room with my friend, and we were like in her underwear, and like she was just like, so where does it go? And I was like, I'm not gonna answer that.
No. I left it in my purse.
So, but how do you address it in the moment when that happens?
It's really tough.
I flat out say, that's really personal, and I'm not gonna answer.
It's none of your business.
Because it's not our obligation to be their handholder and educator.
Especially with the internet. With the internet now, it's like you can look up trans bodies.
Yeah.
A time ago, again, when I first started transition, really hard to find a picture of a trans body online. I've seen that change more and more open up. Like specifically, I'll give you like an example. Obviously, with the birth of online porn and everything like that, I remember years ago it was like, you know, especially for trans men, there was no trans men porn. Like Buck Angel might have been the only one, but now you Google that and it's like there's videos, home videos of hundreds of trans men having sex. So it's like that in and of itself shows that we've changed as a society. And I think that to focus so much on the whole like where does it go question or those types of things forgets that there's so many ways to have sex.
Right.
You know, kind of what you were saying, and the whole how do trans people have sex thing. It's like, well, how does anybody have sex? And you know, sex is intimate, especially growing up. And I don't like the term lesbian, but as a girl who liked girls, the whole concept of like losing your virginity is still something that people are like I would have considered myself having lost my virginity to a woman as a woman. That was the first time I was naked with somebody, touched each other. That was the deal. The whole intercourse focus, as it's like the older I get, the more it just
So
makes
it just
me
doesn't make sense.
And it's,
angry, you know.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, when people in the sense when you're speaking to someone, you can kind of gauge what their intentions are. And you know, when people seem like they're more just asking out of curiosity and not out of educational reasons, or I just stand on my head and click my heels 3 times. What do you want me to tell you? I have sex like a normal heterosexual man, but there's nothing else to it that I can provide.
Yeah, it comes back to it's like people see it as boy or girl. You were a boy, now you're a girl. So how do you do the things that boys do as opposed to how you did the things that girls do? And we just know that that's not the way it is anymore.
The ridiculous thing to me about the whole like fascination and how stuck society is on intercourse is it's not even just a queer like dilemma. People with disabilities also experience this. You know, like
you're right. It isn't just a queer thing.
Yeah. So like I would like even dare to say that a greater part of the population, you know, than people may like consider, really don't necessarily have intercourse the way we all.
I know we think that everyone has intercourse, and it's like I've talked to many cisgendered men too who are like don't want to have intercourse. Not interested really. Like I like making out. I'm down to do some other stuff, but can't have intercourse. Can't come. Not fun. Doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Sex education is so important, and I really think that it's like for myself, a lot of my growing came through like looking things up online. But now that there's like censorship on YouTube and it demonetizes queer people, especially those who are seeking to educate, especially those who are seeking to educate the youth who need it, because like, let's not fool ourselves. I lost my virginity when I was 13, like, you know, I needed that information very young, and now it's making it more and more difficult for, you know, those voices to be heard, seen, spread, or even just afford to keep doing this work.
For me, it's like the context of who's asking.
I was just gonna say that.
If I'm at work or I'm at school and someone I just met or just came out to is like, how do you have sex? Like, I'm not gonna listen to you. I have work to do and I have school to do. Like, we're in a setting where that's not okay. But when I'm with my trans girlfriends, or maybe I mentioned trans girls a lot. I have trans guy friends, but when I have trans girlfriends asking specifically for advice on like maybe younger trans girls or who haven't even been on hormones for long, like what happens to their penis or how they have sex, I'll get really in depth because that's the right context. Or a safe space like this, where it's all trans people and you want to learn about us. Like this is the space where you ask, versus like trans people get offended when you ask. When I'm at school learning about criminology and you ask me how I have sex, like no, I don't want to answer that right now.
But I'm sensing that the answer is also that it's the same thing as I don't ask my parents how they have sex.
Totally, and see, that's
I know
100%,
generally,
yes.
but if you want to know the general specifics of how a transgender person or how lesbians or how whatever people have sex, that you could look up online.
Absolutely.
Or look up in a book even.
I learned about trans sex online, like just on YouTube, how to date and stuff, and personal experience. If you're that curious, look it up. But also, like, if in this specific space, if you had personal questions, I would be willing to answer them.
What I was just about to say is similar to what Sam said. It's in context to whom you're with. And for me, if I'm comfortable with my partner or the person that I'm engaging with sexually, then I will have that conversation with it. If it's pertinent for them to know, if I have feelings for somebody or if I'm going in something with my heart attached to it, then that's something that I will talk about.
Right. It can be as black and white as you buying a packer. Is that what we call it?
They're called packers.
You can packer, and you can wear that.
Just don't confuse packer and strap on. That's the
Totally.
I
hate when people say that. They're like, "Oh, do you use a strap on?"
I hate that.
Yes.
When you use a strap on, it's like go.
Number one, there's a difference between a strap on and a packer.
Yes.
Packer being something.
And packers and prosthetics.
And
are also
prosthetics.
different.
Prosthetic is the prosthetic. That's the term for
A
the
medical
most
prosthesis.
penis-like fake penis on
Sure.
that's available.
Like
So
we're talking it adheres to your body.
There you go.
have to buy it online. It's
$500,
like hardcore.
$600.
But again, the reason why it's not, and then you can finish.
I think. Give me just.
Okay, go for it.
I think that certain people want to know that black and white answer. But what we're getting at here is that it's not black and white, and that sex isn't just a penis and a vagina, or two dicks or two vaginas.
Yes.
So, as much as somebody at home wants to know that, but how do you do it? How literally do you do it?
Yeah.
Is that really the question?
When you really think about it, it comes back to that whole penis-vagina thing, that sex is a penis going into a vagina and then there's ejaculation. That's the sex. And of course, that's the way I guess we've thought about sex for a really long time, but I've talked to many trans people and obviously had experiences myself, and I've learned that a lot of people don't use any prosthetic at all.
Right.
They're in the same way that there's bi people and there's gender fluidity. People are attracted to tons of different things, and so to say just you had brought up pegging, things like that. That's something that there's traditionally heterosexual people, are doing that type of stuff as well. When a woman has sex with a man
With a
strap on.
Yeah.
Right, but they're in a heterosexual relationship, but their genitals are doing the opposite based on whatever. It's like that is a reality of heterosexual sex, and the fact that or sex in general, and the fact that, everyone else isn't granted that same type of fluidity is just like...
To me, it's offensive when people ask, because it's the first thing they ask, and it's reducing me to a walking genital.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
So that's why it's offensive. And maybe your intentions aren't bad, and that's okay, but it's like someone stepping on your toe, like whether or not they meant it still hurts.
Absolutely.
So it's like, to put it in a queer perspective, it's like you coming out as queer and people not being like asking interesting, stimulating questions, but it's like, oh, are you top or you bottom?
Right.
Or like, how do you have sex? Or like
Immediately wanting to know
what's your like fetish? It's like just like it's just like that's uncomfortable for me to ask. I don't know why it's like comfortable for people think it's okay for them to just come right out and ask what I have in my pants when it really doesn't concern you. It won't make your day any better or worse.
Exactly.
I think the really difficult part about it as well is it's strangers that are bringing this question to you. And they're not even taking the time to get to know you as an individual or anything beyond that. You know, it's different if someone's like, you know, showing care and concern, consideration for your life. Concern is probably a bad word there, but you know, like for a friend to ask me, I have no issues. You know, when a stranger out of the blue is just like, so what are you doing down there? You know, what's going on? Like, what the heck does it matter to anyone? You know, like.
So this is clearly this is a challenge within your community. What are some other big challenges that we haven't touched on yet today?
Dating.
Yeah,
Dating.
about to get to
So how do you date?
Oh.